back to the Lipoedema Podcast. We're your host, Shell.
And Tiana, and today we have a return guest with us from episode 44 of the Lipoedema podcast. But she's a new version of herself, and we're going to get into that through the episode. It is Lipoedema coach Elle Hemming. Elle, thank you so much for coming on again with us today.
Honestly, it's been a pleasure, ladies. You've been such amazing followers and cheerleaders on the journey, so consistent, so I love that. And I really have excited to make a return. It's been good.
Yeah. Yay, so good to have you. So, since our last conversation, and now that you've had time for the full psychological and physical effects of surgery to integrate your life, what is the most profound, enduring change that you've noticed?
Right. So I think the biggest thing, I just sit on this is why it's good you guys gave me an extra week, is this button. And what is this button? This is the reset button, right? And you only get one. You only get one reset button. And so that's what surgery's done for me. It's given me that reset to go, okay, all the things that I thought might not be achievable, might not be something that is in the cards for me, and now all those things are coming into play. It's given me opportunity to put all of my bodybuilding that I wanted to do into motion, to actually be taken seriously as a coach. It's just changed the whole projection of my life in a way I never thought I would imagine. So reset
And
button.
so we said, so physically, obviously, you've changed. Like, I saw some photos because, as you said, we're followers of yours. We're always there
Yeah.
in the background cheering. And
Yeah.
I did see some photos, and there was you can tell the physical difference. But what about psychologically? What psychologically happens with this reset?
Yeah, and that, I honestly liken it to part of yourself again dying, and all of the grief and the sadness and the happiness and all of those big emotions that come with that. And it's every day is not the same. Some days you wake up and you're really happy with the amount of progress that you made, and other days, and I'm sure other lipidemi ladies can relate to this, you wake up and you grieve for the woman that you thought you were going to be, and you grieve for the friends that you thought you were going to have and the life that you're going to have, and really, I feel for women that had the potential to be incredible sport athletes at a young age and not have their lipedema taken seriously at 15, 16, when, ouch, those growing pains feel a little bit more than other girls, or, oh, I've got stretch marks already. Why is that? All of these questions that we brush off and label as puberty. It's a big grieving process, and it's all those small moments within your life that I've had to deal with, and it's been a challenge to let a lot of it go and forgive, really, and to forgive, to move on. And I've done that, and it's good. It's a good challenge to do, because you end up being a more happy, positive person, and it radiates around you, and it doesn't, again, and I reiterate this from my last conversation we had, it doesn't actually matter too much about your weight. It's how you feel on the inside, and it's how you impact other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Well, I love that. And off air, we were talking quickly about grief, and there is so much grief surrounded in a lipedema diagnosis, because with every fitness challenge, every diet, all these things we try thinking that this might be the one. Then when you get your lipedema diagnosis, there's this grief, as you said, because you're not going to have that life that in your head you think that next journey will take you on. So you have to really deal with that grief of not living the life that you think you're going to get.
Yeah, 100%.
And especially in a sporting field too.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I'm not sure if you both saw it. I put up a really cool little short reel about women in sport with lipedema that was still Olympic athletes, still smashing it, and the amount of perseverance and pure grit and determination it would take to get to that level, and that to me was so inspiring. So there's days where the diet's hard or life is hard. I just go back to that reel and I rewatch and I go, no, you can do it, and you can show everyone else that they can do it. And, when we're thinking about surgery, again, one of the biggest frustrations I had with lipedema management was just how time consuming it was, and even job limiting it was. Were things that I couldn't I couldn't do retail, even at a young age. I couldn't do standing. I couldn't do nursing. I would be scared at that idea of doing things like that because my legs would just swell so badly. With surgery goes, okay, there's more job opportunities now. There's less lipedema management when you're spending hundreds on gadgets that you don't even know if they're going to work or not. So there's two sides of the coin where, you've got people really advocating against surgery, saying that you can manage in it. And then people like me saying, actually, again, if you're in stage 1 or 2, it is that reset that you can have in order to get your life back on track and do all the things that you want to do, even if it's climbing a mountain or running after your kids or jumping on the trampoline without, so yeah.
Absolutely. And, we are all so different. And I think having lots of different voices coming in on this subject is really important because not everyone can have surgery. But
Yeah.
if it is an option, like, you're proof that life can just really turn around. Like the trajectory
Yeah.
you were taking had to just need that reset to just keep going and be stronger and more resilient in that as well.
Yep. And what we know about surgery as well is that once those, inflamed fat cells are taken out, your body just gets so much healthier. And there's thousands of lipedema patients out there that can attest to that, which means that, all of the hard work and the exercise, your diet and putting in before, you can actually finally see all that, and then that's, again, we'll circle back to the grief. It makes me emotional. It always does, talking to you both. Is that grief is realizing, like, actually, I was working really hard and I was doing all the things. And it, ladies, there's nothing I wasn't doing now that I wasn't doing before. I'm in a slightly more aggressive deficit, which my coaches put me in, but not too much more. I'm not training any harder than I was before. I'm not doing anything. And suddenly after surgery, yeah, my body looks like I'm actually doing something. That is also part of the grief for us women. And no one's really talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
no,
that's
we-
why I'm coaching, because I get it. And I want women to understand from a deep emotional place that I see them. I see how hard they're working, and maybe their coaches don't because they haven't been through lipedema. They don't understand lipedema. And so they get gaslit that they're not working hard, because their results don't show it. And that's half the battle, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we say it quite often. Effort doesn't equal outcome for us,
That's right.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So in episode 44, we talked about the heavy toll of managing multiple serious conditions that you have. Now, several years have passed with your cancer recovery and your lipedema surgeries. How is your baseline anxiety?
Yeah, look, I managed to get off all of my medications. And that took me about 8 months straight to get through that. I was on and off them for a while because I realized I didn't have anxiety, I had ADHD. So after 9 years of being put into a generalized anxiety disorder, it was actually, you have ADHD. So I got diagnosed with ADHD, tried some of those medications, didn't actually like them. I didn't like how they changed my personality. I became quite flat, and my kids noticed, and so did my partner. So I actually read this amazing book called Mind Control. And that book, yeah, it changed a lot of my life and how I approach breathing and how I manage my anxiety now. So it's me and my brain. His last name is De Silva. I'll find his first name. And it's a book that's been around for a long time. It's probably had over like 30 million copies sold. It's really, really popular book. And now I realize that so much of my anxiety is to do with how I breathe, and I don't breathe enough. And so I have to, this is personal. It's okay. I don't mind sharing. I take myself down to my car and do my breathing exercises when life gets, overwhelming, or I feel a bit stuck in my head. And those things that's managed my ADHD anxiety just as well as medication for me, because I've been practicing it. So so just understanding, I think, being more self-aware, like I was saying, like I said, I don't recognize who I was 3 years ago. That person is not me anymore, which I think is fantastic. Not that I wasn't nothing wrong with me back then, but it's, there wasn't a whole lot right with me back then, and I wasn't really thriving. I was surviving.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that ADHD diagnosis and like misdiagnosis of that is quite common, and especially in the lipedema community. I think it was like
Yeah.
75% of women self-diagnose ADHD in
Yep.
lipedema. So it's, yeah, that's a really tough one. I'm so glad you found ways to manage that you don't need pharmaceuticals, because they're not for everybody either,
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool.
and I know a lot of people who just, yeah, they lose their spark.
Yeah, that's it. And I love what people's ADHD spark. It's what makes them who they are. And yeah, if they get a bit grumpy or a bit passionate or a bit sidetracked now and again, then that's okay, because that's them. Like, I just think that, like, you're right. They do lose that little pizzazz, little spark that they have. And yeah. So I didn't like that. My family, I'm very lucky, just accept me for all that I am. And, as again, just from a self-awareness point of view, if I do feel overwhelmed, I can actually do something about it. I have a scale, and I teach my clients this, is that check in with yourself and rate your emotions from 1 to 10, and do it multiple times a day so it becomes a habit, so that if you're reacting to your kids not unloading the dishwasher for the third day in the row, and you're that angry, and it's like maybe at an 8 out of 10, you're like, well, actually, that's not an appropriate response to that.
Mm.
This should be maybe a 1. And it's self-regulating like that, and giving yourself enough grace and enough compassion to be able to even check in with yourself that way and not feel like you're judging yourself. So that was also a big challenge, is not to judge myself at the same time that I was doing that. And my family's a lot happier. I'm a lot happier, because again, it's just about self-awareness and managing your emotions better, which is very hard for people with ADHD. We sort of, so yeah, and that's really why I decided to get into coaching, was to understand what it's like to have ADHD, and understand what it's like to try to do fitness, I'd say, because it is doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and exercise is so important in the mental health as well.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing I found, like when I wasn't exercising, was I didn't worry as much about my physical health. It was my mental health. Like
Yeah.
how much just taking yourself away and going to the gym and being in the zone and being around all of those other people doing the same thing. There was something so therapeutic in that I absolutely love it.
And it's that dopamine hit that your brain's craving. We don't have enough dopamine as it is with ADHD. So, if you've got women who uh, have been conditioned, say, from childhood, or conditioned to expect food as a reward, or, when something happy. I mean, you all remember the McDonald's ads after sport. There's a reason why McDonald's got involved with kids' sport.
Mm.
It's not just when something bad happens, we reach for food. Something good happens, we also reach for food. And it's natural too. It's not about going, again, black and white. You can't do this, you can't do that. It's going, okay, these are the patterns in my life that are sabotaging me right now. Let's work through them. Let's try to use them in a way where we're not, again, judging ourselves, that we're able to actually just, again, recognize them, and if they're serving us or not. And so, yeah, again, circling back to the dopamine, it's, if you're getting that from food and you've got no other outlet, when you do discover the gym and you're getting even more endorphins, and you're getting the blood pumping, you feel amazing, and it gets addictive in a good kind of way. So yeah, it's such a better option than, again, some of the other patterns of reaching for food that's not going to do anything for you. At least the gym is, that's a great thing for anyone to experience. And it doesn't even have to be in the gym. You can do it. I've got a client of mine who loves playing pickleball, and that's her thing. So, like that's what she gets out of it. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
finding the thing that you like, isn't it?
Yeah. And again, the gym is not for everyone, and I say to people, if you are already at a job that you don't like, and why would you, and I think I said this in the last podcast too, is that why would you push yourself to go to a gym that you don't like? You have to find some kind of movement that suits you and suits your body, and again, comes back to what stage you are in your lipedema journey. If you're a stage 3, putting you on a bodybuilding plan 4 days a week is probably not going to work for you. It's going to cause way more inflammation. So it's about going, okay, how do we move in a way that makes this a long-term commitment?
Yeah. And also, I was just thinking about like exercise that's accessible according to your lifestyle. So
Yeah.
I do like the gym. It would be great if I could get to a gym, but that's not in my reality these days. So I work out from home, and that's like less barriers
Yeah.
to working out. Roll out of bed, put on whatever, work out. And maybe one day in my life I will go back to doing the classes that I enjoy to do in a group environment, because there's a sense of community when you go to either a gym or you do classes that I'm
Yeah.
sort of missing from my life just because it's not accessible to me at the moment. But I like that. And so finding something that not only suits your physicality and your mental health, but then also that fits your lifestyle at the time, which can ebb and flow. And I think that's why coaching, like having someone like yourself to coach someone through where they're at the moment, is really important, especially for people that don't in their life as a habit yet.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And it's trying to make it, affordable for these people too, because not everyone's got $60 a week to coach or $30 a week. So I tier my programs depending on what people want. One of my clients is she's having a baby, which is amazing, unexpected for her. I took her off my training plan because she doesn't need to be doing that. I'm not going to take people's money if I don't think I'm going to have value to their life. And so it's also, I think, having integrity and being honest, and that's something I really value and I want to keep pushing in this community. For a long while there, I used to focus on all the negatives in this community, but that made me negative. And now I don't worry about any of the negativity anymore. I just do what I need to do to help women, and, I'm in my lane doing that and being positive. And I think that's made such a change to my page and how people respond to me too, which is amazing. But getting back to your original point, Tiana, that is so valid, because actually it's about privilege, isn't it? We're not all millionaires with nannies, and it's about going, okay, what can you do with the tools that you have right now? It is hard as a new mum because you do feel a little bit more isolated. There isn't as many opportunities to just, especially you said your partner's working night shifts. Is just dumping the kids and going, okay, I'm off now, and so again, it's working with people that have all sorts of different backgrounds and lifestyles, and how you go about coaching them, and having a level of understanding and compassion for that.
Yeah, I love that, Elle. That's fantastic. And I'm so glad that we're in talking about your coaching space at the moment, because you've recently launched that, which is really exciting. And I'm just keen to hear from you, considering the lack of research, which we've discussed previously. What is the biggest educational or emotional gap you see in the community that your coaching is specifically designed to fill?
Yeah, look, I think the biggest one after digesting that question is that I've been there, I've lost almost 30 kilos now. That's just almost my daughter, so that's exciting. With being able to do something like that, I feel confident enough to help other women do that. Obviously I had 2 surgeries, which is half of that weight, around 14, 15 kgs of disease fat. But the rest of it I've done, no drugs, no GLPs, no, just creatine, calorie deficit, drinking enough water. And it's like going, okay, if I can do that, then I'm going to help you do that. And I had to be able to do it first, right? So I couldn't come in and coach and go, okay, if I'm still struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. I had to go and research and research and research how not to help myself, but to help other women as well. So I've gone online, I've done a nutrition course just to really brush up some of my knowledge on nutrition, even though I have done my Bachelor of Health Science, which covered some of that. It didn't cover all of it. And it's understanding at a cellular level what's going on with some people's guts, depending on what kind of diseases they're suffering from. Because like you were both saying, Shell and Tiana, lipedema is concurrent with so many other issues and illnesses. Not only do we have ADHD, which makes us more prone to, again, craving sugars, having like
Disordered
binge
eating.
eating. Yeah, 100%. You've got things like POTS. You've got things like uh, EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, that can be mild or severe. And so coming from someone that has both of those, I can go, okay, if a client's going to me, oh, I'm feeling a bit dizzy in the gym, I'm like, okay, we need to get you some more salt. So let's up your electrolytes. What have you eaten before? Whereas in a trainer that doesn't have the depth of understanding of lipedema and its associated disorders might just go, oh, well, you'll be fine, just push through it, and that's dangerous advice. And so while I'm not a doctor and while I'm not some PhD expert, I've got enough awareness and care of my clients to understand and read between the lines. And I think that's really important as a coach, is that you're not just taking people's money, you're checking in with them. Like, technically, I only have to check in my clients once a week, but I talk to all of them every day. I'm like, how are you doing? What's going on? Why haven't I spoken to you in 3 days? Like, I'll call them out. I will ring them if they don't check in at least once a week with me. Because
You're
again,
invested.
it's just, I am invested. And I think that's the most rewarding thing that I get out of it is watching other people's journey. And again, I reiterate, not about these weight loss before and afters. It's what's going in here, because that causes that inadvertently. When we fixate and get very narrow minded with weight loss, we actually forget all of the other wonderful things that are happening in people's life too. Like, a client may have not binge eat at all for 2 weeks straight, which they've been struggling with for the last 10 years. That to me is effing amazing. That to me trumps them losing 40, 50 kilos. It's that psychological, what's going on psychologically for them, where they feel happier, they feel more in control of their body, they feel like they've got more freedom by being able to not, be, it's a word, like wayward with their emotions anymore. They're not just going with the flow, like, oh, I'll eat a whole bag of Tim Tams, but I don't know why I'm doing that. It's kind of, again, garnering some self-awareness and really getting to the bottom of why we're eating or why we're doing what we're doing.
That behavioral change is so difficult, especially when we're trying to be on autopilot most of the time just to survive the weekly schedule of life. And when you add on a complex condition on top of that, the mental load gets even larger. So we do tend to go into autopilot with other things, and autopilot sometimes looks like accidentally eating a packet of Tim Tams, and that just
Yeah,
exacerbates our situation. I know
it
that I'm
does.
so guilty of that. And it's
Yeah.
a conscious checking in. You always have to be present. And sometimes that's so hard to do. And so, yeah, those victories. And in my head, I was like, the non-scale victories. And what a shame that I refer to them as non-scale victories,
Yeah.
like the scale is
Yeah.
the only victory.
100%.
Like
Yeah.
you're
And
saying,
then
because
that's
it's
what's trying to
not.
get out of people's head. Because honestly, and I mean this, my whole journey had nothing to do with my weight loss. The only reason I put before and afters is to grab people's attention, because that's how the Instagram works. But I
Exactly.
couldn't care less in a way, because I'm a happier, better person and doing more for my community. I'm both online and outside of the gym, and just not thinking like so negatively anymore about people, about situations. Like, my whole perspective has changed. And I think with, again, having ADHD, you think so black and white about things, like, oh, this person likes me, or this person doesn't like me. There's no gray. And so learning in life that there is no black and white. It's all shades of gray. Just as a real, I think, eye opener, especially later in life, thinking back how I used to react to some things. Wow, you took that a bit seriously, or literally. So, like, it's a whole lot of that too. And so coming back to coaching, the niche really is for me is I get the ADHD part of coaching, and not many coaches do. They're really like, all or nothing, no excuses. It's like, well, these aren't excuses. These are psychological pre-programs we've had since childhood or adolescent that need reprogramming in a way that's gentle, compassionate, and doesn't make the brain scream at you, no, thank you, I'm not doing that. Because our brains will do that. I put up a story a couple of weeks ago about how I approach coaching. And it's actually, I give my clients way more food. I know
Oh,
that sounds really ridiculous, but I do. That's my strategy, and it's working for
you're
them. So
nourishing them.
we take nothing away. I said, you can still eat all the ice cream you want. You can still binge eat. You can still do all the things, but I want you to add this, this, and this into your diet. And I want you to consistently do it for 2 weeks, then report back to me. I said, don't judge yourself of what you're eating. No, I don't want any of that. I just want you to add these foods in. And then they come back to me like, wow, okay, yeah, I'm not actually reaching for those sweets anymore. I'm not actually wanting to do that anymore. I'm like, because you're nourishing your body and you're giving it enough protein, you're giving it enough fiber, you're giving it all the things it wants. So it doesn't necessarily want to be reaching for those biscuits. Other coaches, no, I don't know you. I don't necessarily care about you. I'm going to put you on this 1,400 calorie meal plan that has nothing to do with your diet. And if you fail, oh, that's on you because you didn't work hard enough. There's no
You didn't do
excuses
what
on
I
my
said if
program.
you
You
just
didn't
did
do
what
what
I
I
said.
said.
Yeah.
It's you have to approach it from a completely, it's neuroscience. It's approaching it from a psychological perspective of how do we reprogram in a way that sets you up for success long term, and that isn't putting someone on a random meal plan. It's just not.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm passionate about that, as you can see, because
Yeah, I can see. And that's great.
you know, and it works. And that's how I lost the weight. People ask me all the time, and I literally, I try to create as much, and I don't post as often as I want because I'm not putting out chat GPT crap. I'm joking. It's getting back to it. It's I plan, and I wanted to put a story out on this, but it takes me weeks to actually put a post out because I ask people what they think about this. I ask them what's going on, and then they do land, and they've been landing well because people are like, oh wow, yeah, and I'm like, yeah. I thought that too, is why I put it out. And so I put a free meal guide out and explaining exactly how to eat for people with lipedema, because from all of the weeks and years of research, that is what I found works the best, not only for my clients, but myself. And it's literally eating 35% of your calories in the morning to set us up for success later on in the afternoon, so that we're not craving sugar, we're not, reaching for those sweets. Because honestly, Cheryl and Tiana, what I'll tell you is that it is not about willpower. It is nothing to do with that, because if you are sitting there and haven't set yourself up for success in the morning, you're going to have a brain that's screaming at you for seconds, for minutes, for hours that it wants something sweet. That's going to drive anyone crazy. I cave to that if I don't set myself up. And so again, you're coming back to the way that I don't coach is, how do you push through that?
Yeah.
It's not only miserable, you're making everyone else miserable. You're tired, you're grumpy. I mean, that's no way to live, right? And so again, that's why these meal plans don't work.
Yeah.
So we have to eat enough in the morning, so when it comes to afternoon, you're like, oh wow, I haven't even thought about reaching for my Tim Tams. I haven't even thought about reaching for my snake lollies. I'm a snake lolly girl. I freaking love those things.
Nice.
Snake lollies too.
Yeah, they're
I'm a chocolate
the
girl.
goat.
I don't need lollies. I just need chocolate. By 1:30 every day, I need some chocolate.
And when you tell you tell people these things, they're like, "Oh, okay, because they haven't even thought about it that way before. It hasn't even crossed their mind. And I'm like, well, this is why I coach. Or if I've got something valuable to put on the community, this is what I'm doing.
Yes.
It's just
And we
not
love
enough
that
of
about
us.
your posts. Not only, like, I remember when I originally connected with you online, it was about building a body, and I just loved that approach. And now it's building a body, but also like the research and facts and stuff about lipedema. And it's truly very interesting, everything that you put out. And I can see why it would take a lot of time for you to post those things. I did want to touch on, just because you're building your business, but you also still have lipedema. So you've got really big aspiring goals for building your own body. How are you balancing all of those things at the moment?
Well, I'm very, very privileged. And I also did a video that I saved on this, is that my partner's got a very good job. And so I've been able to step out of like a 50-hour week role to concentrate on what I want to do, which is my business, and concentrate on my IFBB a bikini debut, which I'm going to do. I'm going to get on stage and show all of us lipedema girls that we can build a bodybuilding bikini body. That, though, I'll touch on soon, is I'm very privileged. And I make that very clear that I'm not some mum that's doing it all. Would I, if I was still working a 50-hour-week job, raising 3 kids, dealing with responsibilities, be able to do half of this? I would say it would take me a lot longer. I'd still be able to do it, but it'd take me a lot longer. And so it's about being real with people. When you're a coach or you're a personal trainer, your whole life revolves around fitness, and that's not reflective of someone who might be like a nurse or, will be, office worker. I'm very privileged to be where I am and be able to do what I'm doing. And so that's why I'm able to do a goal like this. And so what I will touch on now is that, hand on heart, competitive bodybuilding is not healthy. So what I'm going to be doing right now, I'm okay. I've still got my period. I'm still healthy. My blood's all good. But in the last 20 weeks of my prep, getting down to that level of body fat that everyone seems to love, and it's goals and, oh, look, you look amazing. That's not healthy, right? So it's not something that's A, sustainable, or B, should be even aspired to look like 24/7, because it's not. And so I think what I'm going to be doing with my coaching, my followers, is let them know that constantly, is that when I start that prep, that being on such low calories and getting to that level of leanness, yes, it's amazing, but it will come at a cost. I will probably lose my period. I'll probably lose some of my hair. I'll probably break out in acne. I'll probably have issues, women issues, because that's what ends up happening to us. Though it's been a dream of mine for over 10 years to be able to go and do this, and that is a sacrifice I'm making to be able to do that. But I just want to make that very clear to everyone watching, that that's nothing to actually aspire to. And that's me being completely honest.
I really appreciate that honesty. And we're seeing that more, especially in Hollywood, when people talk about getting in shape for roles and stuff, and how they'd come on set and they'd be the leanest that they have to be for whatever role they're in. And they say, I was feeling like death that day. I could barely stand up. And that kind of honesty in like mainstream media is so important, because we do think, if you can get there, why can't we get there? But you're getting there with this level of sacrifice that is unsustainable and not suitable for long-term health and well-being. It's just this goal that you have, and it's a
100%.
very aspirational type of grit that it takes to master something like that. So I truly appreciate you making that very clear. Thank you. We're going to move on to about projects in New Zealand, because you are from NZ. We're like neighbours, I suppose, in terms of where we are in the world. So given the specific challenges of access and awareness in different countries, what's the driving mission behind your exciting new project for the New Zealand lipedema community? And then what kind of practical support or change can Kiwis expect to see from these initiatives? So talk about what you're doing.
Yeah, so you're going to hear it first. So I'm in the process of setting up the charity. So it's going to be the Lipoedema New Zealand Charity Foundation. And I'm doing that with a good friend of mine. She's very excited as well. And she's a nurse and she has lipedema. So that's something that's been in the pipeline for over a year now. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into something like this. There's actually a lot of money that goes into something like this. And obviously we're down to one income, and while we're okay, any spare money that I have has been funneled into getting my coaching off the ground and also into setting up this foundation. And so what we're going to see is hopefully a much larger presence, New Zealand being included in we've just had the lipedema conference happen. So I would love to get some of our spokespeople over to a conference. I'd love to do more, intercontinental workshops, get some of our Aussie neighbours over here and just really get the ball rolling, because no one else is. It's me in this country. It's literally just me. I'm the only one in New Zealand holding it down for the lipedema community that I've found so far, with one of the largest voices, and it's still very small. I mean, I've grown from like 400 followers to over 5,000, which is amazing even to me.
Yes, fantastic.
But it's so backward here that, I mean, you've even got, I don't know if I should say this. Well, you've got personal trainers that are coaching women who obviously have lipedema, right? They're at almost stage 3. And I sort of gently tell both of them about it. And they both just look at me like I've just told them that they're an alien from outer space.
Yeah.
So it's so unheard of that I feel embarrassed myself even trying to like not tell women they've got lipedema, but trying to find the ground of that, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
awareness. Yeah.
I don't really know if I was in their shoes, if I want some random lady coming up to me, oh, by the way, you've got lipedema.
It's
You
so
know, there's
hard.
also that you got to be respectful of people too. And so, you know, there's so much that I want to show our New Zealand coaches. They're not open to it. That's what I'm trying to get at, is I'm not having a go at them. I'm not, you know, undermining what they're doing all, but they're not even open to it. They are evidently coaching women with lipedema. And some of the ways that they're coaching them, I'm like, oh, you know, like that goes against a lot of the research and things. I feel bad for these women, but that's really what spurred me to start, you know, is that too. And I'm sure, you know, in Australia and that too, you've probably still come across PTs that are training women inadvertently again with lipedema. They're doing some things that maybe, you know, aren't the best for managing that disease. And I think really what I want to see more is just more PTs being aware. Like there's an amazing lady, I think she's in Australia, who's actually put together a course for PTs and for coaches that they can take a course on lipedema and it's free and they can actually go and do it. Yeah, I'll send you the link after. And I think that's what I want to be doing with my website too is making through the Lipedema NZ Foundation, making courses that these coaches can take to educate themselves. Because again, coming full circle back, it's not just about lipedema, it's ADHD, it's POTS, it's PMSS, it's all these conditions. And then, you know, if you've got someone with lipedema who's doing, you know, like CrossFit style box jumps, that's actually dangerous inadvertently because you've got these other issues. And yet while they can do them, the higher rate of injury is just, they're just much more susceptible to being injured. And so when I see stuff, I'm like, oh no, I just want to go and rescue that person.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just, again, like focusing on the positives and being like, okay, well, what can I do? Rather than complaining, go, okay, you know, what kind of resources can I get out there? How can I change the industry in a positive way so that you start educating coaches just a little bit more than what they have. Yeah.
Love that. That's really exciting.
Yeah, no,
And
it'd be good, you know?
it's a really good reframe. Like, as you were saying, like you used to, you know, people would be putting things out there on social media and you'd get angry and defensive and, you know, but we needed to see you evolve and we need to see this new side of you where you are holding all of us up. You're lifting
You're so
yourself up, you're
centered.
lifting us up. And there's so much more in that because if we all get upset and disheartened, and if we all do that, then we're going to bring each other down.
Yeah,
So I
100%.
love this new Elle.
Yeah.
Love this new Elle.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I'm focused in my lane and focusing on my positiveness.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what
I
I'm
love
doing.
that. Love
Yeah.
that. So looking ahead, if you could wave a magic wand and solve one key problem for the lipedema community, whether it's research, diagnosis, funding, what would it be and why?
Okay. So did you know, little fact here, that women were only included in research since around 1993 to 1997. That is ridiculous, right? And so what? Yeah, go look it up.
Makes me so
Yeah.
angry.
Yeah. So no, I'm only laughing because it's ridiculous to me. It is, there's many words, but ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So what we see in some of the bigger lipedema communities, especially being in America, is that there's a lot of male voices. And there's a lot of male voices that are putting out qualitative data research. So qualitative data research is research on, you know, surgeons all coming together and deciding, you know, what they think lipedema is or isn't. You know, it's not, you know, I'm just explaining to your people watching it's not data. It's people's voices, right? And so
Anecdotal.
yeah, 100%. So when you've got a group of men coming through that have their own biases and their own view of lipedema, I think that is something we need to challenge. And so I was disappointed by the recent Lipoedema conference in Rome, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. Rome, yeah. I watched a lot of it online from what I could find. And overwhelmingly for me was that there were too many male voices. And I
interesting.
think that there needs to be far more women in that conference. And I think that even some of the things that were said in that conference just didn't land well with me at all. And so I really want to see, if I could wave my wand, I want to see more women in research. I want to see more anecdotal, life experiences of women. And I mean, it's got to the point now where, you've got some surgeons saying that the lipedema tissue as we know it right now doesn't exist, as a prime example of kind of what's going on. And I say to that male, well, you're not female. You don't have lipedema. How would you know?
Yeah.
And that's it. I want
Interesting.
to see more women in this space. And that's why I think it's so important that we're all here and we're all women that have experienced lipedema. And again, we are women.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. But this sentiment is something not just shared by me. I reached out to multiple lipedema influencers, content creators, to podcast creators, and I asked them about this, and the resounding vote I got was 100% agree with you. So it's not just me.
And you're
they
talking
also,
about women's voices that also have specialties in research, that also have specialties in surgery, that also have like GPs and everything. So more women's voices, not just women who live with lipedema, but people who service the lipedema community.
Yeah, 100%. And there's not enough women in research or in science.
No.
And I think that is obviously half of the issue. But I just think it's important that, we don't undervalue women's voice in a disease that affects 99.9999% of women.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I'm often reminded that some men experience lipedema. I'm like, yeah, that's great. Like, but we're here for the women community because we often get overlooked and dismissed. And because, when I was 11 years old, it was the first time they put women in research.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
that's
That's
ridiculous.
it. Yeah. Because
we are not
we
small
could
men.
get pregnant. We could
Mm.
get pregnant, and we were treated, and we still are, like many men in some ways. And so again, when you come back to, these big conferences and, more and more events that we will be seeing with lipedema, it's so important, again, that what I'm really reiterating is that we don't lose our voice. Yeah. We keep hold of it.
Thank you so much for joining us again.
Sorry.
I love
Love it.
speaking to you, and you're always, so passionate about what you speak about, and not just passionate, but well researched as well, which I think is, it's so good that you're not just like, this is what I think. It's always backed up. And thank you so much. And I can't wait to see what your coaching looks like. And yes, I'll be on the wait list there. I am 100% sure of that.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been
Thank
such
you,
a pleasure.
Elle.
And we'll have to have you back.
Oh, honestly, yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, sweetheart.
The Lipoedema Podcast 2025 is powered by Elegance Lymphatic Care. Lipedema and its symptoms vary from individual to individual. The opinions and advice voiced in this podcast are of a personal nature and used for educational purposes.
Please take away from this podcast what resonates with you, and please see your GP or preferred specialist for diagnosis and healthcare. We are Shelley and Tiana from the Lipoedema Podcast. Until our next episode, bye for now.